Last couple of days, I saw these quotes from Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, in which he was saying, if I could just sort of paraphrase, Deshaun Watson has an excellent chance to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this year. Deshaun Watson obviously has not played in a very long time for a variety of reasons, up to and including significant injury history here. So, Shefty, what should we be thinking now about Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, 2 first-round picks, and the Cleveland Browns?
Listen, a year ago, Jimmy Haslam was at the owners' meeting saying it was a swing and a miss on Deshaun Watson. Well, guess what? Deshaun Watson is now back in the batter's box, and he's got a real chance to reach base here and win the starting quarterback job for the Cleveland Browns. Because here's a quarterback who tore his Achilles in the 7th game or the 7th week of the 2024 season in October, retore the Achilles, and is now trying to overcome those physical challenges to recapture the Browns starting quarterback job. And there's a real possibility he's going to do it. If the owner is saying that he's got a great chance to start, we'll take him at his word. So right now we've got Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, and Dillon Gabriel vying for the Browns starting quarterback job. We do not expect the Browns will draft a quarterback here that has a realistic chance to win the starting quarterback job, though you never know how a rookie quarterback fares. And right now, Watson's got as good a chance as anybody to win that job.
So, Jordan, when we were talking this morning, why is it you think Shedeur Sanders finds himself in a very good spot right now?
Yeah, one term you hear when you're in NFL locker rooms and meeting rooms, the best ability you can have is availability. And that's what Deshaun Watson hasn't been able to provide. The injuries are what they are. Back-to-back season injuring your Achilles twice. Dillon Gabriel as well had the concussion, had a shoulder injury. He hasn't been available, and all Shedeur has done is put his head down, be there when the team needs him. He's had some ups, he's had some downs. I think he's in a perfect position, and he's handling it the right way. He's in the facility. He's around the facility. He wants to have this job be his, and he's going to be an opportunity where he's going to have the best opportunity, I think, to take that job. I think the Deshaun thing, what are we hanging on to with Deshaun? Even before the injury, I think with the fully guaranteed contract that he got, it was kind of, well, he had a window of time with the Texans where he looked like a top 10 quarterback, but it wasn't his entire time there. And now after the catastrophic injuries that he's had, I think we saw the Browns turn the page, and now they're flipping it backwards. I think they need to turn the page to one of these young guys, and right now, to me, that's Shedeur.
Tim, final word.
Yeah, it's been too long for Deshaun. That's what I would say on that. Shedeur finds himself in an amazing situation. Sub 500 record, did not, produce at a high level, late round draft pick. To be sitting, just before the draft with the quarterback stable that they have and a chance to be the opening day starter does not happen often. And so it's a remarkable position for Shedeur to be in.
Okay. In it that fans should know if they haven't seen it.
Well, I mean, I guess the number of people in Philadelphia that are willing to talk, poorly about Jalen Hurts, I would start with that's probably the biggest thing. And then I would say this, in there, it kind of talks about Hurts having strong suggestions or feelings about, the plays that called and even influence on, what ultimately gets called. That's normal. I think what's not normal and what definitely comes off in the kind of tenor of the piece is that, at times, it almost portrays that it was like defiant from Hurts in terms of what was called and then what was, from the sideline and then what ultimately, was called either in the huddle or at the line of scrimmage. That's different, especially for a guy that is his stage of his career. And then also a guy who's never thrown more than 25 touchdown passes in a season. Like that's to me, I think what's a little bit unique in this situation in Philadelphia.
Jordan, what do you, as you were reading that thing, and I think the point should be made, and I'll let you make it, about how this guy is learning a different language every single year, basically going back a decade.
Yeah, for starters, I hate the premise of the article because they're talking about a single moment in that Niners playoff game where 4 verts was called twice in a row. I don't have a problem with that. Everybody's an armchair quarterback. Everybody can look back and go, hindsight's 20/20. 4 verts is a play that can look completely different on any different coverage. If you have 2 high, you're going to go a bender with some hole shots. If you got a cover 4, you're going to have comebacks in 2 seams. If you got man coverage, you got 4 guys with man beaters. I don't dislike the play call, but you're right. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that the offense got stale. Why did it get stale? Well, because they've had a different play caller every single year. The only year they had continuity was Shane Steichen. Jalen Hurts was 14-1 as a starter, and they went to a Super Bowl. He's had 11 different play callers dating back to his time in Alabama in 11 years. They need a system that Jalen Hurts trusts. Because right now, I think he trusts his eyes and what he's seeing, as he should, and making adjustments in real time. And when you lose, people question it. When you win, they don't. I think that's what the issue is.
Here's the way I view it. For whatever reason, Jalen Hurts has become the focal point of a whole lot of attention, primarily negative attention. I'm not sure I understand exactly why. I'm not in the building on a day-to-day basis, so obviously I don't know the reality of it. Here's the part of it that I think is most interesting, and for that I turn to you, Shefty. Whatever is going on with him and A.J. Brown,
right.
The question is, does it come to a head? You watched them play last year. I found myself thinking, there's no way A.J. Brown is still on the Eagles next year. Well, every day that goes by, we're getting closer and closer to next year. So what should we be thinking?
Well, Tim mentioned the number of people in Philadelphia speaking about Jalen Hurts is alarming. The number of people speaking at ESPN about Tim Hasselbeck also alarming. But we go on and talk about A.J. Brown moving forward into the future.
Fair.
And when it comes to A.J. Brown, here's the situation. Everybody's pointed to his relationship with Jalen Hurts, how that's been impacted. And it's a situation where I think people still believe a trade is in play. But the Eagles don't want to make that trade until after June 1st. Because of the cap ramifications. We are on April 2nd. Between April 2nd and June 1st, a lot can change. The one team that has continually been interested in A.J. Brown is the New England Patriots. And we don't know whether the Patriots are going to draft a wide receiver in the draft 3 weeks from tonight. We don't know if they're going to add another wide receiver. We don't know if their need will be different, but we do know that Mike Vrabel has openly talked about A.J. Brown, would love to have him. And the Eagles have been open, if they get the right offer, to moving A.J. Brown. So will that happen 2 months from now? There's certainly the possibility it will. And a lot of people point to that relationship between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts as one of the reasons that A.J. Brown would be interested in moving on. We wait to see if that happens.
Yes, I mean, I don't have any insight whatsoever that others don't. I mean, beyond what I see on TV and what other people talk about, Tim, into the relationship between A.J. Brown specifically and Jalen Hurts. But I know what a happy person looks like.
Right.
And when I watch A.J. Brown play for the Eagles, he does not look like a happy person to me. That doesn't mean that can't change, but that looked like a player to me who needed a change of scenery.
Yeah, well, and it certainly feels like it. Look, when you look at his production, how good of a player he is, the fact that he's under contract and what wide receiver contracts look like. Listen, the only reason Philadelphia is, I guess, floating this idea out there that they would do it is because exactly that, Greeny. He's a disgruntled player that, is, I think, impacting the locker room and, the culture of the team. His production is going to be extremely hard to replace. So, yeah, there's no doubt that this is not a production performance situation with A.J. Brown. It is more, listen, this isn't working. The relationship isn't working. His frustration is impacting our football team. That's why we're even entertaining the idea of moving such a talented receiver.
All right, let me leave it there for the moment because I have other things I want to get to today. That one is worth keeping an eye on, but we have much more this morning, including a little more basketball. We got Brown and Tatum setting Miami. Just